Hey everybody, how's it going? We're continuing this series of behind the scenes videos for the stream. Today we're going to be talking about my stream setup and hardware, and I'm going to give you a couple trigger warnings. One, this is not going to be cable porn. If anything, this is going to be tech support gore. I have a lot of cables, as you might imagine, and I often need to shift things around. So the way that you organize cables is that you zip tie them together and you use gaffer tape and that sort of thing. And the more you do that, the harder it is to be agile and move your stuff around. So there's going to be some somewhat terrifying arrangements of cables. I have done my best to organize them with some zip tying and gaffer taping. And two, we do own two cats. If you are a cat owner or know a cat owner, you know how often cat hair gets around. I haven't done my best pass at cleaning up in here, but if you see some cat hairs here and there, don't panic. Okay, cool. So let's start out here. I've got three monitors here, as you can see. The one on my far right here is my main monitor. I use this guy for my OBS preview window, my bots, pretty much anything that's not the game and not the chat, right? You can see there's the heart rate monitor software. There's my microphone software, which you can see start going when I turn on the microphone. So this is kind of my main base to change anything, and I keep this main monitor separate from the monitor that plays games so that I have easy access to pull open the taskbar and do that sort of thing while the game is running and not interrupting that process. In the center I have my game monitor. I bought this when we moved out to New Mexico. We didn't have this when we originally got out here. The idea behind this is I use it as a television. You can see it's running the PS4 right now. I also put whatever PC game I'm playing onto this central monitor, and that's helpful because there's the webcam that's watching me. Since I'll be looking at this screen, I'll mostly be looking into the webcam while I'm playing. Before we had this in California, my way of dealing with TV games and console games is I had to plug them into the TV in the living room across the room. And since I'm kind of nearsighted, I had to use glasses sometimes, and it was there were a lot of audio issues that came up with that, so it was really good to get a third TV monitor with Patreon funds to make life a little bit easier and clean up some of my screen real estate. As you can see, is already pretty maxed out. Sure, when I'm actually streaming, I minimize a lot of these things, but there's a lot of things that I could be looking at any given time, and I could almost say that there's no such thing as too much screen real estate. Notice up top I've got a Wii sensor bar. It's what Ben likes to try to eat. In fact, the Wii sensor bar, you can see, since it's IR, this camera picks up the lights there. That's pretty cool. On the left, we've got the chat. This is Chatty. This is the app that I use. I'll probably do a separate video talking about how Chatty works and what I do to get things like in-stream chat badges. I'm able to keep up my last set of followers, what the current stream status is, how many viewers I'm running. I have notes for myself that I keep in the bottom left there. And then for games like Bloodborne, when I need to display something that's from Notepad, that's where I put it. I also have a laptop, and I highly, highly recommend that you have a laptop, tablet, or some other external device when you go streaming yourself. The reason for that is that if there's a problem with my tower, or there's some stream issue that's unique to my tower, I can still update chat and let people know what's going on from my laptop. It also lets me update things like my dashboard here, so I update the game title, make sure that stream is running okay, that sort of thing. I can also keep Facebook and GChat running. As you can see, Andrea is responding to me right now. We're usually GChatting back and forth, and if I keep Facebook and GChat open on my tower, then you're going to hear all of those notification sound effects. And there's ways around that, but we won't get into that today. Let's see, other things on the main desk. I have this cool MIDI controller. As you can see, I've labeled all of the notes with different sound effects. The way I have this rigged up right now, I can have my MIDI controller basically make my computer do anything when I press one of these keys. And there's a couple different ways I could approach it. Right now I have it set up so that it actually types in the command name into chat. So if I hit the button for bad pun, it types ! Bad pun. I could also get it to just trigger the sound effects, but I think that's helpful for new viewers to hear and realize where sound effects are coming from, that they're often being typed into chat. I've got extra batteries here. This camera on the desk. This was previously my main webcam, and I now use it for cat cam. I'm not going to do anything over here. So whenever you guys activate cat cam, it's typically pointed at the couch behind the stream center. If the cats aren't there, I'll sometimes pick it up and move it around to try to find them. You might notice that I've got a very redneck setup here for my monitors. Andrea, my wife, also has a PS2 and also has an NES, so I've taken my own PS2 and NES and used them just to prop up the monitors. There's also an astrophysics textbook there. I use a lot of USB devices, so that's one of several USB hubs. This is what I reach for if I need to quickly change out a USB device, like if I need to charge something, because my tower's all the way over there. And this one I can do without having to get up out of my chair. I've got my Wii U gamepad over here. Sometimes this will pop up while I'm streaming with new updates that they add. As I mentioned, there's my tower. Here's my microphone. This is a Blue Yeti microphone. I recommend it. It's fairly cheap. It gets the job done. I've got a couple things set up here. When we first started out in New Mexico, the air conditioning sound is really loud, and the sound from my PS3 that's dying, the fan is starting to get loud. So I tried to address that by adding this noise canceling foam that you can get on Amazon, super cheap. That is helpful. I might remove it eventually because now I have a software solution to background noise, but I think it still kind of helps to cut some other stuff out. This guy right here is a pop filter, so when I make sounds, it doesn't sound awful when it comes through on stream. Got a really cheap mount for it, but it's good enough. I can move it around without too much trouble. This is my game shelf. It goes a couple rows back. This is the thing that Ben, my cat, is typically attacking when I'm streaming. My 3DS capture card here, which I might do a separate video on later. I got this cool sticker from PAX 2016, but you'll notice it just plugs directly in. They had to drill a micro USB port on the back, so that plugs into my computer and jacks into some software that I have. Again, I might show in a later video. The headphones I use are very cheap. These are like, I don't know, $12 on Amazon. That's because I split between 2 if Andrea's here and 5 of them if we have multiple guests. So I want to have a bunch of cheap ones. Honestly, what headphones I have doesn't affect the audio that gets to you guys, and this sounds good enough. I'm not a crazy audiophile as far as spending tons and tons of money on things like headphones. You'll notice that the headphone plugs into this Belkin splitter. So right now I just have Andrea's headphones, my headphones, and then there's an aux cable that plugs into that central monitor. When I'm playing capture card games, capture cards are kind of wonky if you want to pass the sound to your desktop sound. So what I do is I have it so that my games from a capture card, the sound goes to stream only, and then I capture the actual audio in this monitor that goes in a really long aux cable that runs all the way around the room and plugs into this Belkin guy here, so that I can hear the game audio separately in my own ears. So I think that's it on this side of the desk. Let me just make sure. I guess over here we've got my controllers. I have more of them, but these are the ones I use most frequently. Down here we've got the PS3 and the PS4. More consoles off to the side. Let's get up and look around the room a little bit, shall we? One sec. Andrea's diplomas. You'll notice her undergrad diploma from Rice is like larger than both her master's and PhD from Ohio State, because everything's bigger in Texas. Okay, so here you can see the stream wall from a distance. This cool poster Hapax got for me, all the levels from Dark Souls, also from Fangamer, a lot of the things that I own. On the wall here, just to give you a closer view, you might not be able to tell on stream, but I do have a Master Sword. My parents got me this cool Hylian shield from a random pawn shop in Arkansas, and then a couple Christmases later they picked up the Master Sword for me, so I do have both. That's pretty cool. The beat sprites, if you've never made a beat sprite before, you don't own one, you notice they look kind of shitty when you get really close up, right? You'll notice that like Ryu Hayabusa here has weird iron marks on him from where the ironing got kind of screwed up. So that just sort of comes with the territory. These guys look really great from a distance and not so great when you're up close to them. You notice I use quite a few wall staples. Andrea's headphones there are wall stapled along down here to try to reduce the cords all over the place. I recommend those guys too. They're basically nails with some plastic on them that you can hold wires to walls without creating a tripping hazard. Also down at the very bottom, that's the coax cable for my cable internet. Andrea's chair with her headphones reaching across the way. You'll notice that my chair is super shitty. I've had this chair since I started streaming, and it's actually technically Andrea's study chair from undergrad, so it's It's an old piece of shit chair, and it's made of that bonded leather crap, which keeps flaking off. So one of the things I want to do eventually is invest in a better chair. You can't really, I just vacuumed before doing this video, so you can't see the black flakes that go all over the place from this thing, but it makes a mess, and I'm looking forward to replacing it eventually. It probably won't get one of those goofy, like, orange and blue racer chairs, but just something that's a little bit nicer, that's not quite falling apart. These wall stapled cables you see running out of the room, one of those is the Ethernet cable. The other one is a 50-foot HDMI cable that runs from the living room outside all the way through here behind the cat cam couch, around and over to wire hell. I should have given you a heads up before we pointed at it. The idea behind that is that by having an HDMI cable that runs all the way out to the living room, if I want to play a console game with like friends or with Andrea that come over and we don't want to sit in the stream office, I can just switch out a cable for my splitter and we can play games directly in the living room with a pull of a cable. It's pretty nice. You know, the range on wireless controllers is typically good enough that you can sit in the next room and be fine. Okay, so scary time. Let's check out what's going on behind the view from cat cam couch. Right. Okay, so you can see my tower there on the left. This is what the kitties are looking at when they're sitting here, or Ben and Marty when they're sitting here. This is behind, literally behind the stream. So you'll notice that, yes, there is a ton of cables down there. A lot of AV plugs as well. They've all been zip tied to the desk. There are very few cables that are running on the floor. There's a couple exceptions for the ones I need to run on the floor, like you can see this is my heart rate monitor. Grab it real quick. Technically, oximeter that also measures heart rate. We turn this guy on. It says finger out, so I usually don't use I've never used my finger when we're streaming because I typically use this for games where I need to use both my hands to hold the controller, so this goes on my toe, which is why it's on this little, just like a footstool. I find that it loses connection less frequently if I have my foot propped up. So that's the heart rate monitor I use for certain games. You can see all these cables running around. Many of them have been gaffer taped. Almost all of them are zip tied in some way. This means that this is a pain in the butt if I need to move something, but it's a little bit better than having just the cables hanging everywhere. You'll notice that these power strips are kind of nice in that every single slot is used up. I don't have any of these irritating, I'll show you here, these long AV adapters that take up space on the power strip. And what I technically have is I bought this cool pack of they're basically just really, really short extension cables. So this is like a 1 foot extension cable, and all it lets you do is, get more space on your power strip for these long, irritating AV adapters. Kitties like to spend time down here. Those power bricks get pretty warm, so Marty in particular will like to hang out by the power bricks. You've seen everything running around here. This is a bit of a nightmare, a bit of tech support gore, but it gets the job done. I can switch things out when I need to. Other things going on behind the screen here. So you can see I had to gaffer tape the sensor bar onto the monitor because Ben is constantly knocking it down. I've got 2 cables running out of my main monitor. This is the one that I treat as a TV. This guy here is a DVI cable. This one's an HDMI cable. DVI is for the PC and HDMI is for consoles. So I can switch, just pressing an input button on the monitor, I can very quickly switch which one I'm using. And that's one of the things that I'm most proud of with this setup, as ugly as it is. This splitter guy here, I've set it up so that all of my console HDMI cables are connected together, and they're color coded. So the green one is the PS3, PS4, Xbox, and Wii U, and all I have to do to switch them is just unplug here. So if I unplug this blue one, I could then plug in the green one and have the PS3 running. The splitter is running 2 places. This guy is going to my middle monitor. If I unplug this guy, this blue one here is the 50-foot HDMI cable I was showing you that runs out into the living room. So if I want to play games in the living room, all I have to do is unplug the monitor, plug this guy in right here. Technically, I can even unplug the monitor, put it in as my input, and then put the TV here so we could play PC games in the living room, and I've done that with Andrea before. She was playing Half-Life recently, and we did that. So this makes my life really easy. The other cable that's coming out, so this one goes to the TV or the monitor. This guy goes to my capture card, which is PCIe Elgato Gaming. I think it's HD60 Pro, technically. All these cables. Yeah, this guy here. HDMI in and out. Technically, the card itself has an out. You don't need to use a splitter, but having the splitter here is a lot easier for me to swap out cables than if I had to plug them in and out of my tower all the way over here. And it also has the benefit of stripping HDCP protection from PS3 games. If you've never messed around with the PS3 before, it can be kind of ugly when you're plugging it into an older HDMI TV. So going through a splitter lets you get the signal when usually it would drop. This guy I don't use terribly frequently, but it's an AV to HDMI converter. We might end up using this in the future if we play some console games that don't have an HDMI out, but I make every effort to play said games on the Virtual Console or the PSN or on an emulator if possible, because the graphics quality coming to you guys is going to look way better than if it comes through this adapter. It'll degrade the quality pretty seriously. Other shit going on over here on other consoles. So there's the Wii U. Plugged into the Wii U, I have a cool USB Ethernet adapter. Really recommend that. Streaming wireless is my bane. I'm using up so much bandwidth all the time that having additional signal degradation is not great. You can see that even from my router over here, I've got an Ethernet cable that runs all the way over to my laptop. So I'm not even dealing with Wi-Fi on my laptop. I'm trying to keep everything hardwired if possible. I do have a extra HDD for the Wii U. I recommend picking one of these up if you can. I get most of my games in the Wii U digital. That also helps me to play them at midnight releases, and this guy's not terribly expensive. It's like a 4 terabyte external hard drive that's built for use with the Wii U. Xbox 360 I'm using less and less, but there it is for when we have games that have 360 exclusives. My shitty Comcast router modem over here only has 4 Ethernet slots, but I do have this cool Ethernet switch that I'm not currently using right now. It's pretty trivial for me to just unplug a cable and plug it back in, but if we get an Xbox One or any more devices like the NX when it comes out, I'll probably use that Ethernet switch to get us some extra spots. As far as there being anything else on the back here, and I'll just see how much USB shit there is. This guy here in the center is a PCIe USB expansion port. I needed more USB slots because they compete for bandwidth, right? Like your webcam uses a ton of USB bandwidth, and the 3DS capture card uses even more. So when I was running both of them at the same time on the same bus, it was causing graphical glitches and sound glitches and that sort of thing. So getting more buses where they're not competing for bandwidth has been really helpful. I think I have both webcams are plugged into that guy, and that's why I'm not using the other 3 ports on there. I think that's just about everything. I can give you a zoomed out view of the couch the kitties sit on. I've got the window over here. I would just use the blinds to block out the light instead of black construction paper, but Ben destroys them, so it protects against his destruction. I have it's going to piss off my, that wasn't so bad, my camera. This is my stream light. I only turn this on when I'm actively streaming. It doesn't make a huge difference, but, you know, it's better to have brighter lights, I think. Some people have really professional setups with the, foil that's pointing at your face, and I think that's just kind of excessive for what I'm doing. This is the difference between this being on and off is noticeable and good enough. I don't need to have the bright lights burning in my face. Yeah, I think that's everything. I guess over here, got a static wristband that I pop on every now and then. I do have to take this thing apart whenever we're troubleshooting issues. Got a duster, of course, and even more cable staples you can see on the back here is, like, for example, I think that's the cable coax cable running all the way around the back. So this is the stream setup. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll do another video here soon. Have a good rest of your day. We'll see you next time. Bye.